year was 1912, Giants and the Sox. They called him the Little Napoleon, the ballad of John McGraw, the story of John McGraw, the legend of John McGraw. Stare down Smoky Joe Wood, just can't play in the dark. They call him Muggsy, the ballad of John McGraw, the story of John McGraw, the legend of John McGraw. Just like the Merkle boner, Snodgrass dropping the ball. Some folks call him Mac, the ballad of John McGraw, the story of John McGraw, the legend of John McGraw. The year was 1912, Giants and the Sox. They call him the Little Napoleon, the ballad of John McGraw, the story of John McGraw, the legend of John McGraw.
How about that great music? Good afternoon, everyone. It is our distinct honor to introduce our dad, your friend, and chairman of the John J. McGraw Historic Field Marker Dedication, Bill Swisher. Dad said to us that if he were to title this effort, it would be Dream. Well, Dad, dream fulfilled. And as they've also said, if you build it, they will come. Bill Swisher.
If you want a good introduction, keep it in the family. It's a great day to be in Truxton. It's a great day to remember a lot of things. A lot of history has taken place here in this small community. Good afternoon, baseball fans. Welcome to the town of Truxton, the home of John J. McGraw. Today is a day that we will honor and dedicate a historic marker for the John J. McGraw baseball field right here. This baseball field was developed around the year 1928 and has been in use for approximately 97 years. It is time to remember the day because 87 years ago, Truxton held one of the greatest athletic events in the history of Cortland County. Perhaps the greatest and will never be repeated. The New York Giants came to play the Truxton Giants on August the 8th, 1938. This game was witnessed by 7,000 to 8,000 fans. Now, can you imagine bleachers going all the way out there, all the way around the field, and back down? I was relating a story earlier to someone that Mel Ott, a Hall of Famer, hit the ball so far out over left field, over the river, over the trees, and you know what? It could become a historic item if you live long enough, or pass it down for another 100 years. Also, I'm reminded to remind you all that at the train depot, there's a nice display of articles regarding John Jay's life. So I hope you get a chance to see that. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce Father Dennis Walker from the Church of the Nativity, who will give the invocation. Father Walker.
Please stand. Let us pray. We hear from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Do you not know that the runners in the stadium all run the race, but only one wins the prize? Run so as to win. Every athlete exercises discipline in every way. They do it to win a perishable crown, but we an imperishable one. Heavenly Father, we praise and thank you for your many gifts to us, and we recognize that indeed all our blessings are a gift from you. Today we recognize John McGraw, a native of this very precious town of Truxton, who excelled in sport. We are grateful for the impact of his life to our community and his accomplishments and the crowns that he won in his life. Help us today to continue to seek out, as St. Paul says, a crown that is imperishable and those blessings every day. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father Walker. I hear also that you are also a good baseball, softball player. May I at this time introduce Maria Arnold, who will sing the Star Spangled Banner. If you are able, will you please rise?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly wheeled at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran glee, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Maria. That was wonderful. Throughout this ordeal, which began actively about 3 or 4 years ago, when I was sitting in the sunshine in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I had studied John J. McGraw for many years, and he had a very interesting life growing up here in Truxton. And many people ask me, why did I take on this task? And I'd like to read to you what I've written as to why I came to Truxton and talked with the officials here to ask them about this idea and whether we could go forth with it. My interest in John J. McGraw came many years ago when I received a game program of the New York Giants versus the Truxton Giants. The baseball game played on August 8, 1938, on the John J. McGraw Field. Since my retirement as a local school administrator, I've spent many hours researching, reading, and collecting information about John. McGraw was also of interest to me because my youth and his youth had many similar characteristics. My intent and purpose after meeting with the town officials was to provide funding for a historic marker for the John J. McGraw baseball field, memorializing the 1938 baseball game. As planning commenced, I realized that there was also a need to improve the foundation of the John J. McGraw Monument. Funds for the restoration were provided by my wife, Sarah, and myself. John J. McGraw was important to the history of Truxton, New York. The McGraw Field and Grandstand were established in the early 1900s through his generosity, having never forgotten his hometown. It remains a ball field today. History lives in Truxton and Cortland County. I hope through this effort to reunite the memory of John J. McGraw, a small-town local boy whose interest in baseball will always be remembered for his record-breaking achievements in baseball. This marker also serves as a very personal memory of my wife, who supported and encouraged me to continue in my effort to celebrate the important history of an event that will never again be duplicated. Sarah passed away in January of 2025 after her 88th birthday. Thank you. You have to bear with me a little bit. Some things are still a little difficult. At this time, I would like to introduce Assemblyman Jeff Callahan, who represents our district in New York State Assembly. Mr. Callahan serves on many committees in the Assembly, including the Tourism, Parks, Arts, and Sports Development. Prior to being elected to the State Assembly, he served as the town supervisor in Manchester for 11 years. It is my pleasure at this time to welcome Assemblyman Jeff to the town of Truxton. Jeff.
Well, Bill's not family, but that was a nice introduction. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invite here today. When I got this invite a while back, I was elated because baseball's in my wheelhouse. The first two people that I saw here today pretty much were, they both live an hour and 40 minutes from here on the other end of my district, and I was quite surprised to see them both here, to know that both were going to be here. Bill Young and Bruce Brown, and Bill grew up in this area, so it was a very, very happy time for me to see familiar faces here, so that I know those guys can relate to a couple of the stories that I'll be telling in a minute or two. Also with me today is my manager of constituent services, Sam Close, and my office manager. I have an office, a satellite office, for those that don't know, you know now, in Moravia, New York, and that's Nancy Proper. I know Nancy I don't know where she's sitting, but I saw her walking through earlier. Thank you both for being here. Very special thank you to Bill and Sarah Swisher for their making this day possible. I can't say enough about Bill and his wife. And John McGraw, he was quite the man. Not only did he play professional baseball, but he also became, in what many people's minds recognize as one of the best managers ever to play the game, or to manage the game. He was first and foremost a visionary because of the different things that he came up with, the squeeze play and several other different factions of the game that John McGraw was the institute of. And he is, like I said, in many people's minds, he is the best coach that ever coached Major League Baseball. So here on August 8th, 1938, one of John McGraw's dreams came true. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here. He had passed. But this was after he had built this grandstand that you're currently sitting in. That's the original grandstand with many improvements now, but that he built. And as Bill mentioned, one of my committees, I have the opportunity to be able to go to that committee, and I have a great relationship with that chair, and I'll be advocating for funds to improve this and get some money here in Truxton to help along with a project that I know Bill would like to see completed here. So I know that many times after he built the stands, he sent jerseys home from the New York Giants, and Truxton was really a place that he knew was special because he grew up here and he never lost his roots. His roots were always here in Truxton. And to know that and to know what he did for the community is a wonderful thing. And I can certainly relate to John McGraw's and Bill's love for baseball. Baseball's been in my family for a long time. My uncle was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 40s. A quick story I'll tell you about my dad, who played for the Manchester Firemen in the 1940s. And there was a gentleman that ran around the country with 3 other guys, and they called themselves the King in His Court. And I'm sure many of you remember the King in His Court. And they're still playing today with Mr. Fainer's son-in-law pitching, but he's getting up in age now, so they've got another guy in the wings. They have a succession plan. They're going to keep that going. But anyway, they show up at the Manchester Field. 4,000 people in attendance for the game. The town has 2,400 residents in Shortsville and 2,200 in Manchester. So here they are, the King in His Court, and they got a big entourage from Heinz 57. Heinz 57 was sponsoring the game, and the King in His Court were going to get this big bonus check because they're going to win 57 straight games. But it didn't happen. The Manchester Firemen beat them 2-1. Ike Moses hit a 2-run home run, ended the game. Eddie Fainer went off in a huff. He was mad. So now we're going to fast forward about 45 years, and we're in Newark, where the Newark co-pilots are playing. And guess who the main attraction is that day? The King in His Court. So I said to my dad, come on, we're going to go. Eddie Fainer's in Newark. Love to go. So we watched the game, and I said, come on, we're going down on the field. What are you talking about? We can't go on. Come on, we're going on the field. So I bust through the gate, and I take my dad out onto the field, and I introduced myself and my dad to Eddie Fainer. And I said, just for your knowledge, Mr. Fainer, my dad played that game in Manchester in 1944, I think it was, or 45, I can't remember the year, for the Manchester Firemen. He looked at my dad. He got this look on his face, and he said, you dirty dog. Do you know how much money you cost me? So that's a good story, and I still follow the King in His Court. And but my dad was a great ball player. My uncle was a great ball player, and I had athletics kept me in school. I wasn't a good student, but I could play baseball, football, and basketball, and it kept me in school. And I loved baseball. And my senior year, I had some attention from a university out in Ohio, and they wanted me to come play for them, and I wanted to be a machinist. So I went and played fast pitch softball, and I played that until I was caught in fast pitch until I was 42 years old. My knees are still good, my hands are shot, but most of them it's the opposite. Anyway, my claim to fame was 1984. The bullpen catcher for the Rochester Red Wings AAA team went down, broke his wrist, and one of the co-general managers, Bob Guggen, came over to our game looking for a catcher. We had 3 games scheduled that night. We had an A-League, B-League, and C-League, and after the game he asked me, he said, you look like you can handle a fastball. What are you doing for the rest of the summer? And I had a 1-year-old daughter and a brand new house we just bought. And he said, I want you to come and catch in the bullpen for the Rochester Red Wings for the remainder of the summer. Our catcher broke his wrist. I said, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. He said, well, we can't pay him much. It's only going to pay $12,000 a year. So I did it for 1 year, and I had a great experience. And it was wonderful to rub shoulders with those guys and see what the inside of baseball is really all about at that level. And believe me, it's a lot different than what we know here. So it gives me even more respect for Mr. McGraw and what he went through, and the trials and tribulations that major leaguers go through, and the backstabbing that goes on, and the different things that happen because everybody's trying to get to the top. And so I learned a lot, and I love baseball, and I'm a New York Yankees fan. So you probably love me or hate me, but I am a New York Yankees fan. So as I stand here today in Truxton, honoring John J. McGraw, and I'm blessed to be a part of this additional history that's being made right here today with the installation of this historic marker. And thanks again for having me here today, and a special thank you for everyone involved in making today happen. This special tribute to John J. McGraw and the Truxton community is very special, not only to the community, but to baseball. And I know that the Giants had their hand in this also, and I certainly do respect the Giants organization, even though they did pull out of New York many years ago. But on a more serious note, I do have a citation here honoring the dedication of the John J. McGraw Field Marker to present to Bill, and this is on behalf of New York State, and I always say the mighty 131st District here, and myself. So congratulations, Bill. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming and speaking. When I mentioned why I wanted to participate in doing this for Truxton with many other people to help, and I said John's life and my life paralleled each other somewhat. I can remember as a kid growing up in Pennsylvania. We were about 10, 11, 12 years old, and we had a baseball team. We used bats that we picked up from somebody else that we put a nail in and put some tape around, and had a baseball with black tape, and we used to play games away. We would go 10, 15 miles away to play, and the only way we could get there is 2 or 3 of us at a time would go out and put our thumbs up along the highway. We got there, but the game started when the entire team got there. And when we got home, our moms, where were you? Okay, our next speaker was Leah Webb. She was unable to be here today, and she was going to send a representative, and that representative was unable to come. But as we received these news, I also received a call from the U.S. House of Representatives, John Mannion's staff, who asked if they could meet and deliver a congratulatory letter and flag. I'd like to read the letter and flag from the Representative Mannion. This flag is to be presented to Truxton. The flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol at the request of John W. Mannion, Member of Congress. And his letter states, on behalf of the United States Congress and the residents of Central New York and the Mohawk Valley, I am honored to extend this letter of congratulations upon your new historic marker. Congratulations on your new historic marker that was installed in Truxton, New York at the John J. McGraw Field on August 2nd, 2025. The significance of this historic marker is incredible, since John J. McGraw grew up in Truxton and many of his family members are buried in the nearby cemetery. The marker commemorates a game played at the John J. McGraw Field on August the 8th, 1938, between the Giants and a local town team. The original grandstand and field remain on site at 6290 Railroad Street. And he goes on to say, I am honored to present you with this flag. So I would ask Lloyd Sutton to come forth, and I would like to present this letter and certificate and flag to him. Where are you, Lloyd? You might be surprised, I was too.
Yeah, I am. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You want to say something?
I'll be saying something in a little while.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next on the program, I'd like to introduce Roger Young. Our next speaker is Roger. He is a lifelong resident of Truxton. He served in the U.S. Air Force and is a graduate of Truxton Central School. He is on the board of the Truxton Community Center and has been a member of the planning committee for this event. Roger's mother and sister attended this game in 1938. Roger will read the resolution honoring John J. McGraw Field from the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. May I present Roger? You can say that.
Wow. Hopefully you all have a program. The resolution that I am going to be reading shortly is on page 9, I believe. So if you would all turn to page 15, you won't know whether I make a mistake or not. Resolution honoring John J. McGraw Field. Whereas John Joseph McGraw, the oldest of 8 children of Irish immigrants, was born on April 7th, 1873, in the village of Truxton, New York. Amidst the natural beauty of central New York and about 60 miles west of Cooperstown. And whereas the scrappy and innovative McGraw would go on to a successful professional playing career with Baltimore, introducing the hit and run, the Baltimore chop, the squeeze play, and other tactics, then transitioned into a legendary manager of the New York Giants for 3 decades. Nicknamed Little Napoleon, the Giants became a powerhouse under their famed skipper, collecting 10 pennants and 3 World Series classics. And whereas McGraw retired after 1932 with 2,763 victories, third only to Connie Mack and Tony La Russa on the all-time list. 3 years after passing away on February 25th, 1934, he was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1937. And whereas on August 8th, 1938, the defending National League champion Giants played an exhibition at Truxton's John J. McGraw Field in their late manager's hometown, defeating a team of area semi-pros called the Truxton Giants 8-1 before a reported crowd of 5,000 or 6,000 people that included McGraw's widow. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum recognizes and celebrates John McGraw and his noteworthy role in the national pastime, and therefore, be it further resolved that the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum extends our sincere best wishes as a historical marker to memorialize John J. McGraw Field in tribute to the 1938 exhibition played there, is dedicated at a ceremony on August 2nd, 2025. It is signed by Josh Rawich, who is the current president of the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown, New York. Thank you very much.
Roger, don't leave yet. We have the resolution to present to you that hopefully will be put in your museum at the Railroad Street Terminal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get it there.
Congratulations. At this time, I want to introduce a friend. Our next speaker is Kevin Fitch. He is chairman of the Cortland County Legislature. He also serves as the legislative representative for District 8, which includes the town of Scott. Kevin is a graduate of McGraw Central School and is employed at Cornell University. Kevin was born to be a leader. May I present Kevin Fitch.
So whenever we come to these events and I'm in front of or behind Jeff Gallahan, he always steals the thunder. My baseball career was a McGraw catcher, and my claim to fame was just breaking some fingers behind the plate. That was about it. But Mr. Swisher right here, he molded me. You know, he was my principal. I was in his office quite a bit. And then I met him on the golf course, and he still is teaching me some lessons. So, gotta take these off first. So it's a true honor standing here today in the heart of Truxton, a town rich in history, and to pay tribute to one of baseball's most legendary figures, and it's one of our own. John J. McGraw, lovingly known as Little Napoleon. John McGraw was more than just a Hall of Fame manager. He was a fiery competitor, a fierce strategist, and a relentless student of the game. But before all of that, before the pennants, the World Series rings, he was a kid from Truxton, New York, a place that shaped him and that he never forgot. Born into humble beginnings, McGraw's journey to greatness began right here at this field. From his early days in the minor leagues and leading to a legendary New York Giants for nearly 3 decades, McGraw left an indelible mark on the game. He played hard and managed harder. He turned baseball into a chess match where every pitch, steal, and bunt had meaning. Under his leadership, the Giants won 10 National League pennants and 3 World Series titles. He not only led, but he innovated. He created the hit and run, the squeeze play, the strategic base stealing. These weren't just tactics that he developed. These were his fingerprint on the very fabric of baseball. He may not have written the rule book, but he did certainly make the league rethink on how it was read. But perhaps what makes his story most special to us isn't just what he did in the national stage, but what he brought back home. In 1938, 4 years after McGraw's passing, Major League Baseball came to Truxton in a way it never had before or since. The New York Giants, led by future Hall of Famers like Mel Ott, Carl Hubble, played an exhibition game right here at the John J. McGraw Field, facing off against its own Truxton Giants. People came to witness what was called the greatest sporting event in history of Cortland County. The game wasn't just baseball. It was a community coming together to honor a local son who had risen to the highest heights and who had never forgotten where he came from. McGraw had donated uniforms, helped fund grandstand, and supported the Truxton Giants in ways that went beyond money. His heart remains rooted in the town, even as his name became synonymous to the greatness across the country. And thanks to the efforts in the John J. McGraw Memorial, dedicated in 1942, still stands proudly at the intersections of Route 13, Academy Street, and the Truxton-Tully Road. And now, in 2025, the addition of the historic field marker further cements McGraw's legacy, not just as a baseball icon, but of one of Truxton's own. Today, as we gather in his honor, let's remember that McGraw's story is not just one of baseball. It's one of grit, of loyalty, and of a small-town boy who changed the game, but never forgot where he came from. May his story inspire us to dream big, lead boldly, and always give back to the communities that raised us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate what you said. Back in 1938, they had a unique baseball program that was given out to the fans that attended the game. And the program that you have received today, we tried to replicate some of the things that was so stated in the original program in 38. But today, our next guest is Abby Aldrich. She's a rising freshman in at the Homer Central School. But first, I must tell you that in 1938, prior to the game, we are commemorating a poem, and it was read. The title of the poem was John J. McGraw Comes Home. It was written by Joseph H. Adams of the Syracuse Post-Standard. It was read by Bob Keneflick. He was a sports announcer at station WFBL in Syracuse. Today, Abby will read this poem for us. Abby?
At the end of the day, it's not about what you do in life, it's about how you did it. Good afternoon, Cortland County. My name is Abby Aldrich, and I'm currently a representative of the Cortland County Dairy Ambassador Program, a current FFA and DECA active member, as well as your New York State Public Speaking State Champion. On top of that, I'm an athlete for the Homer Central School District. I'm a track and field runner, a cross-country runner, and part of Homer's first ever wrestling team. However, there's something that doesn't always get noticed: the small town I come from. I was born and raised in this small town, Truxton. I'm proud of the community we are and how they've always helped me and supported my dreams. When we talk about athletes, oftentimes our minds first thing slip to that they were born talented, coordinated, and always win. However, when I look up to people like John J. McGraw, that's not what I think first. John J. McGraw's success was fully built by character and the type of person he was. His attention to detail, hard work, and perseverance, as well as willingness to always think critically and outside the box, led to his success. His victory was only a symbol of his hard work and dedication that was put in each day. These qualities were built from a young age and were the foundation of what created his success, much like mine. Many important skills like his were founded by the small communities we live in. So when we think of John J. McGraw, I hope we think of something bigger. I hope we think of the community that supported him and things he created like this. Today I'll share with you a short poem called John J. McGraw Comes Home, written by Joseph H. Adams. Out of these hills he drew the ruggedness which set him forth, his destiny to meet a conqueror who fed on storms and stress, until the baseball world was at his feet. Out of these hills he drew the quiet strength to take each crucial victory in stride, until throughout the country's width and length, his fame rolled over onwards like the tide. Out of these hills, deep-rooted in the earth, yet always reaching for beckoning sky, he drew the qualities which guarded his worth. His lowness at prestige mounted high, and so these hills eternally shall claim the son they spawned for destiny and fame. Joseph H. Adams. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. That was great. I really appreciate that. The next speaker at today's event is Lloyd Sutton. Lloyd had served as the Truxton Town Board and is presently serving as a multi-term supervisor. When I first discussed the idea of a historic marker for the field, Lloyd was very interested and supportive. He has been a friend and has initiated the work behind many of the special things you see here today. I might just add that he's spent many hours on this field putting it back in shape for these kids to play today. So we really are happy and appreciate that, Lloyd. At this time, may I introduce Lloyd Sutton, who will share with you the reading of a letter from Larry Baer. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of the San Francisco Giants. Lloyd?
Well, I'm not worthy to follow anybody, especially the people that have spoken here today, but Abby, wow. She has a way of putting words together. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for being part of this dedication. We're here to dedicate a historical marker that will always remind us of the day in history that almost 87 years ago, when, as I understand it, about 8,000 people, I don't want to contradict the Hall of Fame, but I think records indicated that it was around 8,000 people came to see a Major League Baseball team here in Truxton playing a local team. I think we'll hear more about John J. McGraw's accomplishments from others, but 87 years after that great game was played in the field behind us, the field is still here. The grandstand that John J. McGraw is responsible for is still here, and many people are in it. The monument that the money was went to build is still in the center of town. The historic train depot has been restored and is still here. It was in use as a train depot, of course, back then. The appreciation for John J. McGraw is still strong here in Truxton. This event is happening because of Bill Swisher. Mr. Swisher researched the history of John J. McGraw, including the historic game that was played to benefit the construction of the monument, and wanted to memorialize the legacy for future generations. Yes, this is a grandstand with his name on it, and a large monument in the middle of town, but there is not anything recognizing what is possibly the biggest sporting event in the history of Cortland County. Mr. Swisher has extraordinary effort to provide additional recognition, including planning this event with the tireless, faithful dedication and insistence of his daughters and others, many others. When a father's daughter worked this hard to support their father and his will, there must be something very special about the father and the daughters. Truxton appreciates your hard work, your dedication, and the donations. I believe Truxton was good for John J. McGraw, and certainly John J. McGraw was good for Truxton. His legacy has stood the test of time here in Truxton and in baseball history. Since he donated the grandstand along with this, to go along with this field, I believe he wanted baseball to remain part of Truxton. John J. McGraw also coined a phrase that I used to hear in school growing up from a coach and band teacher and PE teacher, Andy Tay, many times. I'll leave you with that, and that is Truxton against the world. And that might have something to do with why he was such a competitive player or manager. The Giants have sent this letter, which I appreciate very much. On behalf of the San Francisco Giants, it is our great honor to join you in celebrating the legacy of John J. McGraw and the historic field that bears his name in Truxton. John McGraw was more than just one of the game's greatest managers. He was a fierce competitor, a brilliant strategist, and a transformational figure in baseball history. Under his leadership, the Giants became a powerhouse, claiming 10 National League pennants, 3 World Series championships. But as remarkable as his career was, what endures most is his unshakable spirit, the same spirit that was shaped right here in Truxton. We are deeply grateful to Bill Swisher, his family, and the entire community for their extraordinary work in preserving and honoring McGraw's legacy. His dedication reminds us of the baseball great stories. Don't live only in the record books, but live in the towns, fields, people that shaped the players we remember. Thank you for ensuring that the future generations will know, cherish, and the story of John J. McGraw, his impact on lives in Truxton, in Giants history, and in the hearts of the game itself. Thank you all for coming today and making Truxton great.
I do have a proper resolution from the Giants, but I told you in the beginning I was a little nervous, so I dropped the frame and broke the glass. We'll take care of that, Lloyd. But can you all imagine, when that game was played, sitting right up there in the grandstand, right in the middle, was Mrs. McGraw, Horace Stoneham, the owner of the Giants, the lieutenant governor, and even the superintendent of grounds for the Giant Field Polo Grounds. I must tell you a quick story about that. John McGraw always had a friend as a superintendent of grounds because he was always instructed on how to groom the field, depending on the team who they played. If it was a fast team, they wanted the grass to grow taller, etc. They even went to the point where sometimes they let the outfield grow and they would have a hidden ball. Our next guest, I went to the Cortland County Historic Society several years ago when he recently had written a book, Young John McGraw of Truxton. And our next guest is Tony Kissel from Cortland. Tony is a baseball historian who has researched the baseball history of Cortland County for more than 25 years. He taught school in the Boston area until moving to Cortland. Among his books, he wrote Young John McGraw of Truxton, which helped to inspire this event today. May I present Tony? There you are.
Thank you all for coming. What I'm going to do is focus more on what John McGraw's teammates back in the 1800s when he was a teenage boy, what did they think of him? What was it like being around? Jack McGraw, that was his name in Truxton, not John McGraw, but he was called Jack McGraw. And my book is also here today for sale if anyone is interested. The first story was told by a gentleman named Reno Hogue. He was a teammate of John McGraw in Truxton. He ended up working at the Cortland Standard. One day he's at work. Somebody from a hotel in Cortland runs in and says, "Hey, we need some help. We have nobody at the hotel." He runs over, and the next thing he knows, 35 years later, he becomes a hotel authority, famous in the United States, writing books and articles on how to run hotels. So he didn't stay at the Cortland Standard. Anyways, he was interviewed, and I really enjoy this story. I hope it's true. But apparently this occurred back in the 1880s. Jack McGraw certainly was a rip snorter. I remember one stunt he did that they talk about in Truxton every election time. Old Seneca Smith, a village character, wanted to make a speech. The only elevated place in the village was the water trough. They put a rickety plank over the trough, and the old campaigner was boosted up and began his speech. It was one of those early fall days, and then there was a fair-sized snowstorm in progress. The boys on the outskirts were itching to throw their first snowballs. Jack McGraw scraped enough snow together to roll a spear the size of a baseball, and the temptation becoming too strong, he heaved it at the speaker. It went straight into his mouth, like a shoot into the hole of an old glove, and the speaker dropped over into the watering trough. Jack dusted, and the meeting broke up, which is a good way of ending that story. When John McGraw was a teenager, he lived at the Truxton house with the Goddard family. His daily chores included he had to tend the fire, he had to feed the horses, he had to deliver groceries to all the neighbors, he had to fill the water tank, he had to bring satchels to the train station. He drove Mr. O'Connor's cows to their pasture. He delivered the Elmira telegram to local farmers, and he also became the candy butcher on the Elmira, Cortland, and Northern Railroad. He attempted to play the bass drum with the Truxton Brass Band, but wasn't successful, one of the few things he couldn't do in life. His baseball duties including being the team captain, the star pitcher, the manager, and the best hitter on Truxton. In school, his grade of 92 in his commissioner's exams was the highest in his class. In other words, he was an A student. To conclude, there is a gentleman named Eudorus Kenny who lived in Truxton. He was one of the first pitchers for Truxton. He taught John McGraw how to throw a curveball. Eudorus attended the normal school and then Cornell. So he was familiar with baseball. He became an educator, and he wrote books as well as poems. And on the internet one day, I was looking, and I found a book of his poems. The title was Thus Ets, which is a word you don't hear very often, but it kind of referred to some of the poems in that book, and so I'm flipping through the pages. I come to a page, and the title of the next poem is Jack. And the minute I saw that, I thought, he's talking about John McGraw. The year is 1899. John McGraw's in his 20s. He's a major league star. Now, what could he write about John McGraw? So this is a brief poem. There was a wicked boy named Jack. It was his greatest joy to rack the nerves of his teacher, to ridicule the preacher, and all good folks annoy, alack. The subject of my rhyme, this Jack, develops in due time a knack, a skill most surprising, and soon we'll see him rising like a hero in his prime, our Mac. Now he occupies a place, does Jack. He's the champion third base, G-Whack. And with reputation growing, also pockets overflowing, with a bright and laughing face, come back. So John McGraw had returned to Truxton somewhere in the 1890s. Eudoris Kenny, when he passed away, he left an estate to Cornell University, and that estate is used to fund scholarships to Truxton high school students to attend Cornell. So I thought that was kind of a good way of remembering your hometown. And my book is here today. It is on sale, but thank you very much.
One of the other things that John was involved in, they claimed he was a graduate of St. Bonaventure University, but he started, and he and a friend, baseball player, started baseball at St. Bonaventure. And there was a picture of the first team. I think at that time it might have been called Allegheny College. But John was smart. John knew what to do, and he knew how to figure out how to win ball games. Okay, our next speaker is Mark West. He is the owner of Down Home Productions. He's the director of The Greatest Game and is a musician, songwriter, and founder of Songs of the Game. I came across Mark while looking for a song about John McGraw. Mark wrote the Ballad of John McGraw, which you heard at the start of the program. It made me think this could be more than a local event, and because of Mark's love of the game, he offered to help with this production. He drove from Missouri with video and sound specialist Don Newman and Brian Kaufman. Mark also wrote a new song, Truxton, a Native Son, in honor of today, which you will hear prior to the marker unveiling. Without further ado, may I introduce Mark West.
Yeah, my name's Mark West. I'm the one that conceives Songs of the Game, the music you're hearing today. It's a project I dedicated to my dad, who was in World War II. He only went through the 8th grade, and he played on a small town baseball team in the 30s. And he got to play against the barnstorming Kansas City Monarchs twice, and he got to take some swings off Bob Feller after the war was over on Okinawa. Anyway, I really appreciate Bill and Amy and Ann asking us to be here today. And I want to thank Lloyd Sutton and the great people of Truxton, New York. I would like to thank a few guys who helped us do the project. Randall Chowning was the producer on the first CD, the Left Field All-Stars. Randall started a band in the 70s called the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. They had a couple radio hits. And then Carrie and Tracy Cole, Tony Orlando sings on it, Jeff Smith's studio, and that's really about it. I just really appreciate it and I'm honored to be a part of this event today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We're getting there, folks. We're coming to the end. Finally, I would like to recognize for the audience important guests here today. First, family members of John J. McGraw. Please wave so we can see who you are. Mark McGraw. Mike McGraw. And Nancy McGraw Snyder. They are the grandchildren of Edward McGraw, John McGraw's cousin, who attended the game in 1938. They are here with their spouses and children, Kathy, Jenny, Clint, Colette, Tim, Juliana, and Ashley. Tom McGraw, who is the grandson of Art McGraw, and John McGraw's cousin, who attended the 1938 game. There's one more McGraw, but she is not here today. Lisa McGraw. She's a granddaughter of Arthur McGraw, John McGraw's cousin, who was part of the original planning committee and attended the 1938 game. We're sorry that she was unable to attend. We also have Huffman family members. The Huffmans were instrumental to the day in 1938 serving on the original board which brought the John J. McGraw Monument to Truxton. They are Ann Huffman Long. Where are you? Ann grew up in Truxton and is the daughter of Francis Soot Huffman. Don't ask me why I got that name, because I don't know. Who was a member of the 1938 Planning Committee and who played in the game against the New York Giants. He was proud of the fact, can you imagine this now? He was proud of the fact that he made the last out of the game. That is an honor. Ann is here with several of her family members. Terrence, I don't think. Terrence, where are you? Here? Is a grandson of Ernest Huffman, a member of the 1938 Planning Committee, and son of the 1938 Planning Committee Chairman, Wilford Huffman. Brian Kenny. Brian Kenny is here. Where are you, Brian? Over here. Brian is over here. Brian is the great-grandson of Bert Kennedy, a Truxton native and the man who gave John McGraw his start in baseball by signing him to his first contract. I think it was for an amount of $60 or $70. And because in the beginning of John playing professional ball was not successful, but he always remembered he owed Bert $60 or $70 and he repaid him. I am not sure there are others out there in the crowd that we were not aware of in your attendance today. If you are a family member or had connection to this day in 1938, please wave so that we can thank you for being here. Anyone else? Over here. Thank you. This part of the day is ending, but first I would like to say that it has been a pleasure to be allowed with the community of Truxton to place this historic marker on the John J. McGraw Field. Hopefully, the recollection of this historical event held on August the 8th, 1938 will always be remembered. It also reminds us that a boy born in Truxton, New York, in 1873, went on to greatness and is remembered as a great baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles and a greater baseball manager for the New York Giants, now the San Francisco Giants, winning 2,763 games during his career. That's quite a record. He is the third winningest manager and holds the record for the longest winning streak in Major League Baseball today. Big things can happen in small places. My wife Sally and I thank you all for allowing us to lead this historic event. I know that my wife has been looking down on this day, thanking you and smiling for being part of yet another day in Truxton. Before I close, among those mentioned in the program, I wish to especially thank my two daughters, Anne, over here, and Anne over here, Amy over here. Sarah, I screwed up. The John J. McGraw Historic Field Committee and my wife Sally for giving me the inspiration. And I want these people to please stand. Kathy Arnold, Tom Brown, Laura Condon, Kay Reeves, Lloyd Sutton, Ann, Amy, and Roger Young. That was the planning committee for this day. Thank you very, very much. I also would like to thank the town of Truxton, the Truxton Board, the Truxton Highway Department, the Truxton Fire Department, and finally to the San Francisco Giants for their incredible generosity in assisting with so many parts of the program today. I don't believe I mentioned, but the Giants sent us all the baseballs that we need for this game today and many souvenirs. They sent us a new set of bases, and on each side of the base is a emblem which states the event that took place today. They sent us uniforms. You see the kids over there? They're wearing the uniforms. And we thank Graphtex also because they came in yesterday and we took them over and they put the numbers of the players on their shirts, and we were very thankful for them. And we thank the Moravia All-Stars and Homer All-Stars for participating in this game today. I have asked Ann Huffman Long to unveil the historic marker on Shenango Road here. Everyone is invited to proceed to the marker location, which is right over yonder. Upon completion of the unveiling, please take time to visit the food stands in town. They have a good chicken barbecue coming, and on site sponsored by local businesses and volunteer organizations, including the Truxton Fire Department, Truxton Outpost, Ray's Country Store, the Truxton Trail Riders, Christ Church in the Valley, Lulu's Kettle Corn, and Maggie Magoo's Ice Cream Truck. At 2:30, approximately 2:30, there will be a ball game between Moravia All-Stars and the Truxton or the Homer All-Stars. And please stay and watch this game. They're incredible young kids that have a lot of talent, and they need your support. Thank you all. Let's proceed.
He was born in 1873. He survived and lived for more. And what would come to be as it opened up the door? Baseball was the game that he played and mostly won. The place from where he came, Truxton, a native son. John J. McGraw was the name.
We had it done nearly a year ago. We hope it's a reminder to and the future of the very important history that took place here with the New York Giants playing a ball game against the Truxton Giants. And this nice looking lady here beside me is Ann Huffman Long, and she has the pleasure to this historic marker for this baseball field. Over here, Ann. Okay? You ready? Go.
He was born in 1873. He survived and lived for more. And what would come to be as it opened up the door? Baseball was the game that he played and mostly won. The place from where he came, Truxton, a native son.